There were so many days that I went into work just like crying. I remember feeling so low. Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time watching any of my videos. I'm so grateful that you stumbled across my little old channel. Talk about something that's a little bit more serious that I feel like needs to be talked about and addressed more, especially in the Black community, and that's depression. I definitely experienced it. I didn't know that I was experiencing it, and definitely varying degrees to which you can experience depression. I think a lot of people have a very extreme understanding of what depression is, what it looks like, how it's expressed, the thoughts you would be having, especially like with postpartum depression and stuff like that. And so they don't really understand that if they're going through kind of like a milder version, then it's not going to look like that. So they're not going to recognize it as being depression. And that's certainly what my experience was. This, for me, started after I had my first son. I went from being single, flying, meeting different people all the time, only having to think about myself, living in New York, on my own, by myself, away from family, just doing my own thing, living my own life. And very quickly it transitioned to 3 children, so 2 of my own, and I had a stepdaughter. I was married. I had completely, uprooted and came back home. Everything about my world changed. I'm very driven. I'm very I like to work. I like to achieve. I like to set goals. I like business, entrepreneurship, being in school, something. I like doing something. And I had got to the point, when I was out on my maternity leave, I wasn't doing anything. And I think that's where it started. I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. I was still flying, and we had a really hard landing, and it hurt my back. I was pregnant, so I couldn't have any x-rays done on it to see exactly what was going on. I couldn't have any medication to deal with the pain, and so I was just left with this shooting pain that went from my back down my legs. So upset. I was so frustrated. I felt so helpless, because I'm just here I am pregnant, and I have to deal with this pain. There's nothing that I can do about it. There's nothing that I can take for it. I don't even really know what it is, because I can't get examined. I would sit at home every day in the dark watching TV. That's what I did. Literally every single day. Straighten up the house and cook dinner, because I wanted my ex-husband, when he came in, I wanted him to essentially, be happy and to almost be proud of me. That was my way of doing something and wanting to feel like I had achieved something. But that also was very hard for me, because I have always worked very hard in school. An overachiever, driven, thinking about my career and what I'm gonna do next and how am I gonna succeed and whatever. And I felt like at that time, here I was wanting somebody to be proud of me because I swept the floor and cooked some salmon. Identity-wise, that was a very big blow, because I felt how far have I fallen if that's all I have to look forward to in a day? I wasn't going anywhere, because I felt I'm pregnant. Where am I gonna go? What am I about to do? What do I need to leave the house for? I don't need to leave the house. I left the house literally only if I had to, or only if I was with my then husband. I was very secluded, very isolated, and so I definitely think that that's where it started for me. But I didn't realize what was happening. So after I give birth, then of course your entire world changes. And already for me, so much had changed just in my lifestyle. I guess kind of how I felt my life path was going, that after I had my son and it changed again, and I was grateful, I was happy, I was so happy to have him, but everything for you is now new, it's different. You have this little helpless person that you're okay, I have to make sure that they're okay. I had a lot of anxiety sometimes. I'm not even gonna say sometimes, a lot of the times, about making sure he was okay. Even when I was pregnant, that didn't stop once he was born. He was only a couple of hours old, and I was asleep, and something woke me up. I just so happened to look over and he is convulsing. Like his whole body is shaking. The amount of fear that moment can like evoke in you. So even after we brought him home, I was always like peeking in, making sure he was okay, making sure he was still breathing. Little noise would wake me up. If I wanted to go take a shower, he would have to be like right there in the bathroom, and I was like always like peeking out to like make sure he was okay. So it was just a lot of anxiety that I felt at that time. Then I started experiencing a complete loss of self at this point. I got my real estate license while I was on maternity leave, and I started working in real estate when he was 7 months old. And so I was doing it and I loved it, and I finally had something to conquer, something to achieve. I was so excited to have basically a career again, because that's something that's very important to me. But relationship wise, it became a very big problem. He felt like I was neglecting them and putting, I guess, too much energy and emphasis into working, and I wasn't balancing home life enough. One day, I remember the day, because there were so many days that I went into work just like crying, or I would just like cry in my car and then have to like, get it together. I remember feeling so low because I'm just like, God, this is, if any of you watched any of my videos before, I think this is where the whole mommy mogul stemmed from, because I really felt like either I can be a mom and wife, and that kind of be that, or I can really like have this career and excel and be great. But then it's like I get hit with this huge blow, because family is something that's very important to me, and I'm just like, I have to choose. It's not working. I'm not balancing it. I started feeling like a failure. Honestly, my relationship, I felt like it was holding me back from really going after this career. And I had the conversation with him at the time. I was like, just give me some time, just, this is all new for me. Like, there was so much that I had to learn. I think that the reality of that time was too much for him. I had an obligation to him because he was my husband. This is who I had decided to marry, to spend my life with, to commit myself to. And so I have to put him first, and he's my number one priority. And so if he's unhappy, I got to do whatever it takes to fix it. I was only there for about 4 months, and I ended up quitting, and I went back to flying. And then I flew for a couple months, and I came back out on another maternity leave. And I was really feeling the change within myself. Like, a lot of the things that I was interested in before, I wasn't interested in it. Like, I love music. I didn't want to listen to music anymore. I really liked social media, like being on social media, sharing with people, like sharing my personality, my sex drive. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that like, I was this wild and crazy loosey goose, but like, I had a normal, healthy sex drive before. That was completely gone. I had no desire for sex. Like, I was like unrecognizable. I had lost friendships, very, very important, very significant people in my life, and so I didn't have them anymore. I was still very isolated. I wasn't going out. I wasn't like, not necessarily like partying, but I just wasn't getting out of the house. I wasn't doing anything unless I was with my then spouse. Felt like something was off. I kept feeling like I needed to fix myself, to make myself better for him, for the relationship. I would try, it would not be good enough, which would almost like push me even further back. It was like nothing was ever right, nothing was ever good enough. That played a lot into my psyche and my confidence and my my identity, my sense of self, amongst like some other things that were going on. Then I have my second baby not too long after. They're only like 18 months apart or something like that. So it's like I go through the whole process of becoming like a new mom again, if that makes sense. And so that same anxiety, that same like want to make sure that they're okay. Like after I had my second son, I didn't take a break. I didn't rest, I didn't relax, because I was so ready to get back to working and to have my body back and to not, because I had really bad back pains that pregnancy. It was hard to walk, it was hard to move, and so I was just so ready to just be back, to have my body back, to just feel okay again, not taking the proper time to heal and to recover and to have your body be okay. It affects you more than you really realize. I think this was around the time actually that I shaved my head, completely bald, and I never really talked about why I did it, but this played into why I shaved all of my hair off. I knew that something was wrong. I knew that something was missing. I felt like a shell of myself. I didn't know what the problem was, so I didn't know how to fix it, and I didn't know how to fix it for another person to be okay. My ex-husband was more consistently disgruntled with like me and what I was doing or what I was not doing, and so I was like in this constant state of like trying to fix it, trying to be better, trying to, whatever, when I didn't even really know what the issue was. I didn't even really know what was going on. I didn't understand how far removed from my old self